trying to teach people is, when we think of gardening, we always just think of lettuce and tomatoes, okay? And then what happens if the sun's really strong, you can't even grow the lettuce. So, gardens don't really happen. We gotta really think differently. We gotta think about what's really great about the greenhouse. We can cover them with shade cloth, so you can grow greens through the summer. Cover them with the cover, you can grow greens, longer into the season. But we also start thinking about other crops. Flower corn, that indigenous people all over the world live on flower corn, beans, the grains, and we really need to start thinking quickly about how do we grow, in a small scale, our grain crops is really important. We have to grow everything. We're still drugged on the TV, believing what they're telling us, and we've got to get off that addiction. It's happening now, and it's moving fast.
Support local farmers, and it's great in one way, but that's only really one part of the total food self-reliance, equation. And so, like, our role, I think, on this planet and in this community is in part to kind of say, okay, so we do this on a commercial scale, but how can we support people in envisioning how this can happen, in our community? So, picture this hoop house not as 100 feet, but as 20 feet, next to a library or next to a school or in a neighborhood where everyone in the neighborhood is sharing it, and then it's like it doesn't seem so, whoa, like how do I keep that going? There's people doing it collectively as food should be grown, in my opinion, and it makes it kind of more feasible. The other thing about these hoop houses that's really important in this changing climate is climate change. And, I keep hearing some scientists talk about climate change in agriculture, saying not only to kind of protect crops against the uncertainty of weather, like last year's heavy rains, incredible heavy rains. Our salad grains outside would have been, in a giant lake, and they were basically okay in these hoop houses, but also to help moderate some of the extremes in climate change through a season.
And I'm not focusing on the negative here, but really think about, we are 2010, the most we can come up with today is this buy local, this great line, but this local food thing. If you look at all Whole Earth catalogs, take a look at those. Things were so much more happening in the 70s, 80s. Not to glamorize that, but there's been a reason. They took out farms long ago. That was a lot of power in farms. It was strategically planned. Take out the farmers, okay? Put them into the factories. What I'm saying here is kind of a disappointment that we're 2010, the best we can come up with is this local food, so-called local food movement. Who it's getting to is one piece, but a lot more innovative at different times. So we really have to think about it, and we can't be drunk even on this local food movement, because on the backside, those cats and characters are looking at us, and they're coming out regulations that are going to hurt the small and medium-sized farm. So we can't be naive. We were very naive when we gave away the organic movement to the government. Very naive. One of the worst moves. I won't get too far into that, but very bad move. Point being is, we're all kind of drunk on this local food movement, and isn't that great? We've got to be aware in our minds that they're going to kind of take that movement down. It's not about being negative, but food sovereignty, we've got to be aware what's really going down out there. They didn't want the farms then, and they're not going to want the farms now. So don't get lost that, it's happening. Be aware. The system is very sharp. And you're seeing it right now. They're bringing GMO seed down to the Mayan people. Talk about self-reliant people. These cats are sharp as hell. And we can get kind of buzzed out on, we live in the happy valleys and it's great also, it's in the works to really put lots of, not to be negative, but really we've got to be thinking, how do we get strong and how do we not give our power away like we did to the organic movement? That was bad. Just cover with cardboard, some hay on top, it looks nice. You can put it on in the fall, or you can put it in the spring. You make a hole in the cardboard, dig out the existing soil, because it's probably not very good, put in compost, put a transplant in, maybe every 3 feet do that. You have an instant garden. You can't beat that. Instant garden, okay? That's the first season. Next year, basically what's left is a little bit of tape. Make raised beds. You have a garden. It couldn't be much simpler than that. Remember, there is no tilling going on in the forest. So it's a real misnomer. Basically, I think what it all comes down to is since people don't use raised beds, they kind of walk all over the garden, so they feel like they're compacting the soil, so they feel like they have to till it every year. So that's why we always talk about making raised beds. So you're actually walking in the pathways, so you're never walking the bed, never compacting it, if that was the issue. But what happened one year was in the fall, we had put down cardboard. Come spring, this is 3 years ago, come spring, the cardboard was in good shape. We said to ourselves, wow, what do we do now? Do we take off this cardboard, or do we plant right into it? And that was in this field here. I said, okay, let's plant right into it. So we actually, there's a dibbler, it's a little tool that goes right through the cardboard, put our transplants in, and we had the best year of kales and collards in this field. Okay. Then last year, we had put the cardboard down in the fall. No, in the spring, we planted pumpkins. And what's really amazing is that they did amazing with an incredibly high moisture in the air last year. And then this year we grew ancient wheats, squash. So this is coming up, will be the 4th year with the cardboard. So the belief is, back to someone's question about how much compost is, can we create self-sustaining beds? You know, like I said, we're drunk on oil, so we feel like we can import this and import that. You know, not only is it not good for the environment, but we have to really think, you know, like you said, when we can't truck it in, what are we going to do? So can we create self-sustaining beds so that every year you don't have to till, every year you don't have to make a raised bed, every year you don't have to weed, very little bit of weeding. So just think about it, like there's that field over here, here. It allows myself, our family, to grow a lot of food, minimizing labor, minimizing inputs. What we're finding out, we're doing research with this cardboard, we're finding out in terms of working with our neighbors, a biologist that used to work at UMass, we've been working together to do the research on this, and basically a lot of reasons they're interested in the cardboard is the hide glue that makes the cardboard come together. It's a lot of protein in it. The worms go nuts over it. She just recently told me that the worms, what comes out their butt is actually more volume than they take in. So something magical's going on. The whole premise with me is that I trust in life, and I believe that the soil, you know, took how many thousands, millions of years to create this 12 inches. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here. So my whole thing is, let's not invade it. And you know, all the farmers are going to no-till. It's just a matter of time. So it's really about trusting in the earth and that it will work its thing out. Does anyone have any idea why farmers might be fined for tilling in a matter of time, a couple of years?
Soil erosion.
Soil erosion, a good one. Anyone else?
Increased carbon.
Perfect. This is the perfect carbon sink. This is the carbon sink. That's what's great about the cardboard. It's a great carbon sink. Every time, especially some of my best friends are organic farmers, but every time, and it looks pretty, we till that soil every time, especially down south, wherever it gets hot, every time you till, you're really destroying the organic matter. You're releasing all that carbon into the air. You know, we got to think differently. All the big farms in the Midwest are going to no-till. So, you know, really, you know, think about gardening, think of the no-till. And so basically, you know, why I love it is, you know, is these guys. You know, the amount of poop. In New Zealand, they've done studies. I can't remember, it's 15 tons or 150 tons per acre of worm castings in New Zealand of high volumes of worms. But you can see here, if you look in this field, all these fields, all on the top of the field is their shit. Sorry, AOTV, but this is the truth here. This is what we can count on. This is real. It doesn't get any real than this. You know, we all ask, how are we going to survive? We'll be able to survive. Humans have survived for a long time, but they didn't survive without this. We need soil, we need air, soil, and water. As long as we have that, the folks that are, you know, thinking outside the box will survive. But their 501k, their investments in Lehman Brothers, you know, that you cannot count on. I mean, what's incredible is that corn over there, one seed, phenomenal amount of, you know, one seed produces the plant. Ready? How many? We get about three, you know, ears. How many kernels, you know, per ear of corn? And we're talking thousands. The wheat is phenomenal. The ancient wheat we're growing, I can't really move from here, but one seed produces tillers, and what they are is 20 to 30 stems, and each stem produces maybe, 30 seeds. So you can imagine we're talking maybe 500 seeds coming back, up to 1,000 seeds from one seed. That's so when we talk about money in terms of payback, this is the direction we need to go in. This money thing is done. Mark my word. I mean, what we've been on this land for 14 years. People thought we were crazy then. They still think we're crazy now. Point being is the stuff we were talking about then is more relevant, and people are saying, maybe they weren't as crazy. But we see doing the cutting edge thing. But trust us, it's not in the greenbacks. It's really about the earth. We open up land sometimes if you have to stop with the cardboard, but what we're doing now is every year adding the cardboard. It's been amazing. The results we're getting are amazing. The research that we're finding out, it's working. So why not? I mean, basically, if you look in the forest, the only places anything's growing is where there's stuff, there's organic matter. Anything that's barren, we made the deserts. So even though in our psyche, talk about screwed up childhood, every time we see that land that's been tilled, for whatever reason, we say, isn't that beautiful? In our psyche, for whatever reason, we think that's beautiful. It has some aesthetics to it, but you got to imagine what has happened to the life in the soil every time we went through there, be it a rotavator. So why not keep the soil covered? And we're finding out this could be the fourth year after year, and very, very little bit of added compost, very little bit. We're growing a lot of food. And you got to think about it, got the farms. The big issue with farms is there's only a few farmers. We got to also think about what's the longevity of farmers. A lot of young people get into it, wonderful, but what is the burnout rate? What is the divorce rate? We got to look at these things. These are real issues. And longevity, we can't be completely dependent on farmers. Everyone's got to do something. Right now we're kind of buzzed out with this local food thing, but everybody's got to grow food. And so why the cardboard makes sense is everybody gets tons of cardboard, junk mail, and we can make it happen in our backyards. That's all right.
I'm asking a logistical question. So you'll cover this with cardboard now, or are you waiting until the spring?
We're going to do it right now.
You'll cover it. Okay.
I feel like this old house. Right now.
I think I picked up on that.
But look at this. The oats are actually from straw that was supposed to be straw, not have any weed seed. It had oats in it. That grass right there you're seeing is actually, when I planted the wheat, you can see the wheat stubble. I just put down compost. I put down newspaper and planted through it because I thought the dibbler would go through the newspaper easier. But you can see even with the newspaper, the weeds went through. But look at this. I mean, this is pretty much weed-free except for the oats. And then the corn back there is all cardboarded. That had all pumpkins. It's basically weed-free. But you got to imagine in terms of, labor saving. The biggest issue with gardeners is that, they don't want to, nobody likes running a rototiller. And weeds are going to happen because weeds are doing their job. So, they get this great garden at the beginning, but the weeds are going to take over usually. We got to figure out ways to keep the soil covered. If it's not covered, nature's doing its thing, and then we're always combating. That's what we do. The biggest word to remember we leave here, biomimicry. We got to do everything like nature does. We are nature, but we've been so alienated, be it the Adam and Eve story, wherever you want to come from with that one, but we somehow got disconnected, and we